If we stop telling stories, does the world stop existing? Not the physical world, obviously. The chairs stay chairs. The sky keeps doing whatever strange blue thing it does. The bus still comes late. But the human world, the one we actually live inside, is made almost entirely of stories. Stories are how we swim through the oceans of the world. Not literally, obviously. Most of us are barely surviving email. But every culture, every family, every person is carrying some version of an ocean. History, memory, grief, humor, survival, meaning, all of it moving under the surface. We take the chaos of being alive and we give it a beginning, a middle, and if we are lucky, some kind of direction. And eventually, quietly, without noticing, we begin doing the same thing to ourselves. We become characters. Not fictional characters exactly. We are real. In the annoying and inconvenient way bodies are real. But we live through a character we call me. Character is who we believe ourselves to be. Setting is the world we believe we are living in. Script is where we believe the story is going. And most of the time, this works. Narrative identity is the story we build to answer the question, who am I and what is supposed to happen next? It is not just biography. It is not just this happened, then I became the sort of person who owns 3 mugs but only uses 1. It is the deeper architecture underneath, the character, the setting, the script. The story bends, it adapts. It survives embarrassment, heartbreak, bad jobs, awkward texts, family dinners, and the strange private grief of realizing you are not becoming the person you thought you were supposed to become. Sometimes pain does not just hurt, it starts narrating. It says, this is who you are now. It says, this is all your life has been. It says, this is all your life will ever be. And when suffering takes over the story, the future begins to shrink. Not all at once, not dramatically, not like thunder in a movie trailer. More like a room getting smaller while you are still standing inside it. The person can still talk, still smile, still answer emails, still say, I'm fine, with enough timing that nobody notices the sentence has become a costume. But inside, the story may be losing its future tense. This is one of the most dangerous things about suicidal despair. It does not always feel like wanting death. Sometimes, it feels like being unable to imagine life continuing in any form that still contains you. The plot collapses. The character becomes trapped. The setting becomes hostile. The script begins to sound final. This is why suicide prevention can not only ask what happened, it also has to ask what the person believes their life now means. What story have they been forced to live inside? What role have they been assigned? What ending feels inevitable? Because people do not only suffer from events, they suffer from interpretations, from identities, from futures that seem to have disappeared, from the terrible feeling that their own life has become a story with no remaining door. And yet this is also where hope lives. Not the cheap kind, not the poster kind, not the kind that arrives wearing a lanyard and saying something like, "Have you tried gratitude?" Real hope is stranger than that. Real hope begins when the story loosens. When a person discovers that the ending they feared was not the only ending available. When the character they thought they had to be is allowed to become more than one thing. When the setting expands. When the script gets interrupted. This is not magic. It is not simple. And it is definitely not solved by telling someone to rewrite their story, as if suffering were a rough draft with a motivational quote stapled to it. But stories can be reopened. A life can regain sequence. A self can regain depth. A future can become imaginable again, even if only by 1 inch at a time. That inch matters, because narrative identity is not just the story we tell about the past. It is the bridge between memory and possibility. It tells us where we have been. It tells us who we are allowed to become. And in moments of suicidal crisis, that bridge can feel broken. The work is to stay close enough, carefully enough, humanly enough, that another sentence becomes possible. Not the whole chapter, not the whole future, just the next sentence. A pause, a breath, a person, a room that becomes slightly less small. Because as long as the story can continue, it can change. And as long as it can change, the ending is not finished.